I heard you say in an interview that you are in the business of breakthroughs,
Yes.
and I love that. And so I want to go back to the beginning of your story, and let's talk about that first breakthrough. I mean, you had an abusive family history, and you were young, out on your own because your mom kicked you out. So what do you think was the first real breakthrough that you had as a teen that started you on your path, and how did you get there?
Gosh, there's so many. One of the first ones I think was probably just anchoring in. I had no money. I had a 1960 Volkswagen I worked $40 a week as a janitor to buy and pay for. And so I had no car, I had no money, I had no anything. I went and slept in a person's laundry room, and then I decided I've got to figure out what to do, and I needed to feed my mind because I was so depressed, I was so overwhelmed. I'm missing my brother and sister and feeling just completely out of sorts. So I got on a bus and I traveled 14 miles, I remember, because I ended up running it one time. And I went to this bookstore and I bought this book called The Magic of Believing by Claudine Bristol. It's the first real book other than maybe Think and Grow Rich or Emerson's essays. And I started on this journey of saying every single day I'm going to feed my mind. I'm not going to hope good thoughts show up. I'm going to read biographies. I'm going to find out what makes people tick. I'm going to understand what makes me tick. And I wanted to read a book a day, but I didn't do that. I took a speed reading class and I read 700 books over 7 years. And they were all personal development, human development, psychology, physiology. And then what I try to do is take anything that I learned and apply it. So the breakthrough was really understanding the power of compressing decades into days. That if someone has spent decades of their life and they compress it into a book, and you can read it in an hour or a few days, you have such an advantage. Because when you learn by your own experience, it's painful and it's slow. You know, I've never lost my hunger. People ask me all the time, what is the, some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, multi-billionaires. What sets all these people apart? And it's always hunger. They've not lost it. Some people are hungry to lose weight for to get to the beach party or make a certain amount of money, and then they get comfortable. The most successful people on earth have never lost that hunger. So that when you're hungry, there's continuous breakthroughs because you're always looking for answers.
You started working for Jim Rohn, also
Yes.
in your teens, right?
I did. I started when I was 17 with Jim, and I became the #1 man in this entire company. I had 1,000 people at that time. And I just grew because I believed so much in changing people's lives. I wasn't doing it for money. I wasn't doing it for stars on my chart. I really was driven to change people's lives, and people felt that. You can't fake that. And then my skills grew along with my enthusiasm and my passion, and then it grew. And eventually I became the top guy for Jim Rohn, and then I, with his support, broke off and started my own company. And I promoted Jim Rohn and other speakers, and then eventually I became the main speaker that I was promoting because I was, I was more popular in what I was doing than the people I was promoting, so that changed things.
When you went off on your own, that's kind of the point I think people, most businesses fail at the beginning, in the first few years. So there you are on your own. What do you think were the keys to success those first few years by yourself?
Obsession with adding more value than anybody else ever dreamed of. I mean, my entire life from the very beginning days was how do I do more for others than anyone else on earth? How do I give them experiences that are lasting? How do I create change where change was impossible? Long story short, he told me this woman he'd been working on for 7 years with a snake phobia. A phobia is not just a fear, it's an uncontrollable response to fear. So like she dreamed the snake would bite her on the face and then the adrenaline would shoot through her body and wake her up. And this would happen 4 to 7 times a night.
Oh my goodness.
7 years. So, he was put in a corner, and so he brought her down, and it took me about 15 minutes. At the end of it, I tested first, and she's screaming and shaking, and then I wrapped the snake around her. And that changed my entire career, because in that moment, there was no question. Everybody in the audience saw it. I made it so I had nowhere to go but forward. I put a wall here, 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 and I pushed it into myself, so I had to push myself forward.
Tell us some of the daily rituals, both health and mind, that you do every day.
But I have a very clean diet. Daily, I start out every single day. I have my normal workouts, but I start the day by jumping in a freezing cold water. And I do that as a mental discipline for myself, as well as for your lymph and for taking out, irritation and inflammation in the body. So I drop in 56-degree water. And I do it, to teach my brain when I say we're going to do something, we do it now. And I have such a habit of it now, there's no hesitancy. And I find there's no hesitancy anywhere else where I want to say to my brain, we're going to do this. I think self-mastery is the most important first lesson. And then, I have a whole series of yogic practices that I do for my flexibility, strength training that I do. I've got Billy Beck as my trainer. He's been rated the #1 trainer in the United States. And so I'm committed to being physically ready to deliver. And then emotionally, I start every day by doing what I call priming. I don't hope that I'm gonna wake up feeling great, because I don't all the time. I mean, I'm exhausted last night, I had 3 hours sleep, and today I got 15 media interviews, right? It's a full day, and then tomorrow and the next day, because my paperback and my book's coming out. So what I do is I concentrate for 3.5 minutes on just 3 things every morning that I'm incredibly grateful for. And I pick one of them, and I make it really simple, like the wind on my face, or the smile on one of my children's faces. So I don't just have to have a giant thing to be grateful. And the reason I go into gratitude is most people are wired for stress. They're wired for fear. They're wired for pissed off. And they've got a dirt road to happiness. And neurologically, the more you go into a state, the more wired you get to do it automatically. So I know that fear and anger are the things that mess people up. You cannot be grateful and be fearful simultaneously. You can't be angry and grateful simultaneously. So what I do is I wire myself every morning in a very associated way that makes me feel that feeling, and it's such a beautiful balance. Then I do 3 minutes of prayer for those that I love and for my own healing. And then I do 3 minutes where I think of what I call my 3 to thrive. What are the 3 most important outcomes I'm working on over the next 90 days or 6 months or 12 months? And I see them as done, completed, finished. I give thanks for it, and then I'm done. The silliest question I get asked, I've gotten asked for, my entire career is like, you really have down days, don't you? I mean, you're not happy all the time, are you? Of course I'm not, but I built this set of emotional muscles where I used to be depressed or sad or worried or whatever for days on end, Now I might experience that for 90 seconds. And it's no bullshit. It's
really,
just,
90 of something.
I have a 90-second rule. I call it a suffering rule.
Wow.
It doesn't matter how much money you make. I mean, I sit down with billionaires that they have everything they ever dreamed of, and they're still unhappy. They're still suffering. And the reason is, most of us, our happiness is tied to everybody else behaving the way we want. So I've just decided life is too short to suffer. Too short to live in stress. And when I'm stressed, I'm not there for my kids. If I'm stressed, I'm not there for my wife. If I'm stressed, I'm not going to give my best to myself or my family or my audience. So it's not that I don't get pissed off or angry or frustrated. That would be a total lie. It's just I won't tolerate it. We all get what we tolerate. My whole focus is really helping people have an extraordinary quality of life. That means life on your terms, not mine. Mm-hmm. You might have that idea as to be a great writer and have 3 perfect children. Or it might be to paint, it might be to do poetry, it might be to build $1 billion company. I don't know what it is. I just know whatever's right for you, I want you to have it, but I know you need to master the skill of achievement, taking your vision, making it real. But you also have to master the art of fulfillment, because lots of people achieve, but very few people are fulfilled.
I feel like I learned so much, but here are my 6 keys to success from my interview with Tony Robbins. Number 1, find your patterns. He is a noticer of patterns, and he wants to help you change your bad patterns, your bad habits, and he says that the key to happiness is progress. So just get started on changing your bad patterns. Number 2, find your purpose. He says to think about the outcome that you want, and then really think about why you want that outcome, because the reason behind is more powerful than the outcome itself. Number 3, feed your mind. Obviously, he's passionate about reading, and he says the minimum should be 30 minutes, whether you're listening while you're on your commute and doing chores, or if you're actually sitting down to read. Make sure to make time every day to feed your mind. Number 4, force yourself forward. This is one of the most interesting lessons that I've learned from any of my interviews. When he helped that client in his early years with her snake phobia, he could have done that privately, just one-on-one, and instead he did it on stage in front of a packed seminar. That's either going to work very publicly or not. So I found that really interesting, to find ways to push yourself into make it or break it practice, deep practice, as he calls it. Number 5, fine-tune your body. He says that health is important, and people underestimate just how powerful the mind-body connection is. Even if it's just 10 minutes a day, he says, find a way to get your blood pumping and get endorphins flowing. And lastly, number 6, fine-tune your spirit, which I believe has 3 parts. Number 1, practicing gratitude, which he does every day. Number 2, building your emotional muscles, which honestly, it's hard for me to comprehend, only tolerating bad emotions and bad feelings for 90 seconds max. But that's what he does. And he says we can all do that if we work on building our emotional muscles. And then number 3, to give every day. He tries to find a way to give back or to give to someone personally each day, and to be in the position to do that, to be open to it, to be ready for whenever the opportunity arises. Most recently, he's giving away his brand new #1 New York Times bestselling book, Money, Master the Game. He's giving it away for free right now on his website because he wants to give back to families who are struggling with their financial future. I found this interview so inspiring and motivating, which is no shocker because, I mean, it's Tony Robbins. If you enjoyed it, you can find more inspiring articles and videos at success.com, and you can see my full interview with Tony Robbins, which was like going to college in the span of an hour, at thepursuit.tv.